Hi, and welcome to Travels with Phil. I'm Phil Constantine, and on this trip we are in New York City, and we are going to go to Broadway. Well, they say the neon lights are bright on Broadway. Well, yes, indeed they are. Now, normally they consider between about the Empire State Building and Central Park, but there's all kinds of spots out there. So we're going to look at a history, look around today, lots of theaters, what's going on in the Les Miserables, lots of stars, and what went into the making of several iconic Broadway songs. This is one of the old Broadway theaters out there. Now, Broadway started, the theater in downtown New York started in the 1700s, but it was roughly around the Civil War that it became what was known as the Theater District. These are some of the iconic posters from some plays that have been on Broadway. But again, they've been around for a long, long time. This is Pirates of the Penzance. You can tell by the costumes out there that was considered appropriate for the time. This is some of the old spots here along Broadway, which pretty well is centered around Times Square, 42nd Street, that area there. It's called the Theater District. And so I decided I'd go take a look around on a behind-the-scenes tour on Broadway, starting here in Times Square. Times Square, about to do a behind Broadway or inside Broadway tour.
It's something that I'm very, very passionate about and that I really, really love. So I do want to talk about the area that we're standing on right now, because this area is currently known as Father Duffy Square. But back in the 1920s, it went by a different name. Back in those days, it was known as Panic Island. And Panic Island was a place that out-of-work actors would come and they would dance and
Father Duffy.
try to be seen. Because the saying was, if you were an out-of-work actor in those days, you'd say, the panic is on, because you didn't know where your next job was coming from. And the great actor, James Cagney, for whom there's currently an off-Broadway musical about his life, actually writes in his memoirs about spending quite a bit of time right here on Panic Island.
Okay, just the Shubert Theater. Well, there's more down there. Look at that. Nathan Lane, John Slattery, John Goodman in the front page. That's an old one. Shubert Theater, Matilda the musical. There's Shubert Alley. And then coming back this way, that's Times Square up there at the front. And just lots and lots of stuff.
Producers of all time, the Shubert Brothers. And we'll see their organization. You can see their insignia right over there. You're going to see that on a lot of Broadway theaters. They own a bunch of our Broadway theaters currently. And a few amazing things that happen at the Shubert Theater. Currently, Matilda the musical is playing there. Now, this is a show to bring the entire family to. This is definitely worth seeing, and it's going to be closing on January 1st. It is an adaptation, a musical adaptation of Roald Dahl's classic children's novel, and then the film that followed it. So much incredible young talent on that stage. It's another transfer from the West End in London, and these kids are absolutely incredible. Highly recommend you see this show. Another thing that happened at the Shubert was one of the longest running Broadway shows of all time. Played the Shubert, a chorus line. Played the Shubert for 15 years. It played over 6,000 performances. It's definitely one of the longest running Broadway shows. And also another incredible leading lady made her Broadway debut at the Shubert. Barbra Streisand made her Broadway debut in a show called I Can Get It For You Wholesale.
All right, Shubert Alley, just some of the shows that are playing here. See all the signs. Cats. Oh my God, Cats is still working. Phantom of the Opera is still on. Oh my goodness. Broadway Workshop. Jersey Boys. Kinky Boots. That's been on for 4 years now. Carole King, The Color Purple. That's back. Lion King. I don't think it ever went away. Les Miserables. Wicked. Still showing out here. An American in Paris. Who knew that they did that? Aladdin. Somewhere around here used to be Sardi's. They had a couple of those restaurants where everybody went the night after something opened. And there's a big hotel here now. So there it is, right over there. There's Sardi's. So all you theater folks, that's a big deal. Well, let's take a look at some of the theaters in the Theater District. Now, there's just lots and lots and lots of them. When you hear a thing saying on Broadway, it means it has at least 500 seats. Off Broadway doesn't mean it's in a different location. It just means it's between 100 and 500 seats. and anything under about under 100 is called off Broadway. So that term is just strictly applied to the number of seats in the theater. Now you're looking at some of the big ones out here, some of the titles that were going on when I was there, some of the titles that have been around for a long time. The one on the top center there was Edwin Booth's theater. His brother John Wilkes Booth was the one that shot Abraham Lincoln. And the Late Show, well, they don't show plays there, but that's where they've been doing at Sullivan's Theaters, where they've been doing shows for a long time. And one of the stars here from Avenue Q just came by and knew the guy that was doing our theater tour here. So I went to go see Les Mis, and this is what happens inside.
All right, Travels with Phil continues from inside the Imperial Theater for Les Miserables, or Les Mis. So we can get some focus. And you thought I was kidding about being up on the almost the other side of the street. It must be my deodorant. Well, in the dark, it's a pretty theater. All right, she'll be starting in a little while. All right, this is the Imperial, about midway down the mezzanine. Nice ceiling. And it does have a live orchestra. So I get the pit there. See a little bit of the pit between those guys' heads. And literally, it is a pit. It's underneath the stage. And they're not calling. This is sort of cool about this is that. See this lady here is sitting, the lady right there in the pink. They literally have somebody hanging out from the door beside her there as part of the act, and somebody up on the little step up above her there as well. So they come out of the walls here, so it's designed to look like you're sitting right in the rundown parts of Paris. Travels with Phil continues showing Broadway.
All right. Well, Broadway wouldn't be anything without stars. Now, I've met lots and lots of folks who worked on Broadway, and so I thought I'd give you some of the pictures I took. Some of them I took with the stars themselves. All these folks have been on Broadway. Some of them I have not met, and I've met not many of the really big names. I've met a few. Beth Lavelle up there on the top of this one. She's won Tony. And Ben Vereen, real big hit. Brian Stokes Mitchell. Ben Vereen's what you call a triple threat. He can sing, act, and dance. A lot of these folks out here are well known in the current time. Patti LuPone is considered Broadway royalty. And lots of folks out there. Carol Channing, I met her a long time ago. Pearl Bailey, Richard Burton, all of these folks have been on Broadway at one time or another. Some occasionally. Rita Moreno's been on Broadway a lot. Shirley MacLaine. Tom Wopat from the Dukes of Hazzard. He did a lot of musical theater. And Yul Brynner, Zero Mostel, the guys there from Jesus Christ Superstar. So let's take a look into what has gone into some of the famous Broadway musicals with Michael Feinstein.
From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
I'm Michael Feinstein, and I'm here in the music division of the Library of Congress. There are many possible collections we could delve into here in the music division of the Library of Congress. There's Lerner and Loewe, there's Gershwin, there's Jerome Kern. But today, I'd like to focus on two collections, Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein. Collectively, Rodgers and Hammerstein created 9 iconic Broadway musicals, 1 film and 1 television special, that created a different kind of musical theater and musical America. Here's a folder that says Do, Re, Mi on it. This is the genesis of that famous song from The Sound of Music. It says a word for every note, a note for every word. Then it says Do, Fa, Mi, Re, So, Fa, Re. What a very lovely day. Okay, so he's got the germ of the idea here. But then, 4 days later on the 8th, he's got Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do written over here. And he's got basically the ideas as we know the song now. Do is a female deer, Re is a light from the sun, Mi is what I call myself, etc. The only one that is substantially different is So. What he has written here is So is what you do with grain, oats, wheat. That's what he's got there. So he hasn't settled on that one. Then on the 11th, it says So is what farmers do with wheat. Then on the 12th, he comes up with a needle pulling thread. So it wasn't until that many days later that he came up with that idea for So. So is this virtually the entire score?
It's pretty much, most of the score is there. Some things are crossed out, some things don't get. Actually, that's one of the neatest stories, and one of the most revealing things that these sketches do. And I think if I can find it here, you'll see. Well, it's crossed out first time here. There are two romances in the show, as you know, and the secondary romance is between Cable and Leot, and he's a soldier and she's a native girl. And there was clearly an idea for a song for those two characters. They don't even have a title yet, and Rogers just writes a tune here, and for some reason here he crosses it out. But what's interesting is that tune never makes it into the show, but I bet it's a tune you know.
Let's see, that's
Let's see.
three sharps, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't that? So
I know that from The King and I, getting to know you, getting to know all of. But this was written for Lieutenant Cable and Leot in South Pacific.
Right. According to Mary Martin's memoir, who, as you remember, starred in South Pacific, she went to see the show out of town,
King and I.
The King and I, and thought that the main character there, Anna, needed a song in the scene where she meets these kids. And she remembered this song that had been cut from South Pacific and suggested to Rodgers and Hammerstein that tune sort of set the right tone and the right mood and would fit this person who was to sing it, who played Anna, who was Gertrude Lawrence. So...
And it became...
And it became the end of this presentation here. No real songs because of copyrights. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up by clicking on the button below. You're welcome to leave comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And finally, if you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe to my channel by clicking the button over on the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you again for watching.